it's really easy to just kind of like follow the trends and make music that you think you should be making or everyone else is making. And it's quite obvious, but like you're not going to stand out if you're doing that. If you can borrow elements of what's current and what's happening at the moment and what's on trend musically, then that's great. But if you can just follow your instincts and make the music that you really enjoy making, that's going to be the thing that's going to be really true to yourself. So it's going to sound honest and it's not going to sound forced, which is going to connect with people much more than if you're just trying to rip off something else.
Hey, I'm Grahame Farmer, founder of the dance music magazine Data Transmission and Twitch partner, streaming on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays from 1 p.m. On this channel, we share the full interviews from my Twitch streams. But before we jump into this interview, if you can help this video get more reach by giving it a like and a comment, it'd be most appreciated. And don't forget to consider subscribing so you always get notified when we drop new interviews. Hey, how are you doing?
Love it. How are you, mate? You good?
I'm good, thank you, yeah.
Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, thanks for joining me in my disco shares. And I was reading that you literally started making music in a shed too.
Yeah, very much in a shed. When was it? I was in a few bands when I was younger.
Yeah. Playing
keyboards in like rock and prog and funk bands and stuff like that. And we never had any money to pay for studio time to get proper recordings done. So I was like, I'll give it a go. How hard can it be? So we built like a makeshift studio in the guy who was our manager's sort of shed at the time, and bought some really basic gear. We didn't even have a computer. We had like an 8-track digital recorder thing where you could kind of like record a take and then chop it up kind of into takes, but it was so complicated. Anyway, I really just got into that from that moment. Even though it was like very sort of primitive recording, I just really found a love for doing that side of things, and then I got my first bit of software and started using Adobe Audition. It was at the time.
Oh, no way! I like Audition. It's cool.
Which was like, I think it was Cool Edit Pro before that. And yeah, I just really got into it, and then I was like, I can't be bothered with being in a band. It's too much like carrying big keyboards around and all that stuff. I was like, I feel much more comfortable and I had much more fun doing the recording side of it. So I just offered to do sort of a few other bands, and just any opportunity I had, basically, I said yes to, and I had loads of fun, and that's how I kind of got into it.
So that was when you started. Okay, cool. So then that's how it's literally all started for you, like learning kind of the making of it first. Were you DJing then at all? Because I know you DJ now, but were you doing that? Were you playing as well? Or?
No, the DJing is actually kind of a byproduct of the music making. So that the production and songwriting and all that stuff very much came first, and being in bands and stuff like that from a young age. And then I really got into dance music, but I never actually got into DJing until I put my first track out, which was Easy Love, and which did really well.
It did all right, that track, didn't it?
Number one in the UK. And then suddenly we got like gig offers coming in. People want to book me. I've never done a DJ show in my life. Luckily, somebody I knew ran a club in Milton Keynes, and he lent me some DJ gear, sort of taught me the way, what I should be doing, and that's how I kind of got into DJing, was out of necessity. I always, as a lot of kids do, dreamed of being a DJ, because it's such seems like the best job in the world, and it definitely is. But yeah, I never actually got hands on with it because I was just so into my keyboard and piano.
Before we talk about Easy Love, the chat's just all blown up because I'm in Milton Keynes. This is where we're based. So,
no way.
Literally, they all just went mental, going, "Look at Graham's face. He's just mentioned Milton Keynes. Like, which fucking club and where, man? That's insane. No way."
It was Pink Punters.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, so somebody I met at Talyard in London, which is where I've been renting a studio. He lives up there. He runs the club, and his name's Mikey. And he put me on basically. I did my first gig basically in Milton Keynes, so first gig ever, but no one ever knew it. So like I basically like slid in side of stage, and like they made no announcements or anything. This was when Easy Love was already sort of blowing up.
Yeah,
and I like sneaked on the decks and played a few tunes for about an hour, and then I went off and let the house DJ come back on. And yeah, that was my debut to DJing was in
that's
Pink
crazy.
Punters.
That's great. Pink Punters is a club though. Like it's a place to start. Like it's quite crazy in there.
Man. Yeah, it genuinely is actually. Like now I've been to a lot of clubs. Pink's is actually, they've really got it right. Yeah, it's a sick club.
I can't believe you've played in Pink Panther. That's hilarious. Were you in that bottom basement, the bottom room, the basement room?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I can't remember what they called that room at the time. I think it was just like pop room or something like that, like pop house music and stuff. Very random. I didn't realise you were in Milton Keynes.
I know, that's mental. Yeah. I was gonna. We normally start with a lunchtime question about meal deals, but. Let's dive in with like my normal icebreaker is like, what's your favourite meal deal? Because all my chat, obviously this is a lunchtime show and we kind of talk about meal deals, but
we can talk about that if you want.
Let's do it. Like, because everyone in the chat always wants to know, like, what is your, obviously in the UK we have a meal deal and it's usually at Tesco's or Sainsbury's, and I kind of figure like when you're people on the road, they grab them on the road. We have a chat about them all the time.
I love a meal deal.
What is your meal deal choice? Go-to choice?
Egg and cress sandwich.
Ooh.
And packet of salt and vinegar crisps and like a fizzy water. That's literally sparkling water. That's literally it. To be honest, I eat that most days when I'm in the studio. There's just something really nice about an egg and cress sandwich and a packet of crisps. And then you put the crisps in the egg and cress sandwich for that bit of crunch, you know.
Also, I normally start these conversations with, how's the last couple of years been for you? And normally it's been quite like people kind of going, well, I've had some time off and I had a bit of rest. And yours just seems to have been mental. Like you've had banger after banger.
Yeah, it's been weird. Like the whole lockdown thing has obviously been weird for everyone. And I kind of welcomed it at the beginning because things have been so hectic for so many years now. I don't feel like I've had a break since Easy Love came out, you know, however many, it's like 6 or 7 years ago now. I obviously not complaining, like I'm so lucky to be where I am and be able to do what I'm doing, but at the same time, you know, everyone needs a break every now and then. And yeah, lockdown felt like the right time to do that. So I had a few months off of basically not doing anything music related and just chilling out. And that was really good for me, I think, to come back to it with fresh ears and everything. So I really enjoyed that. But I definitely missed the DJing side as well, because I started to get back into making music at home, made a little makeshift home studio because I couldn't get into my other studio. And so started making music, working on my next album. I was like, this is an opportunity to just get stuck into making some music, because it is quite difficult to manage the two when you're touring and coming back and trying to like work on music for just a day or 2 days. It's really tough to kind of get in that headspace. So I was like, okay, I'll make some progress on the album and focus on that for a bit, which was really great. And then it became quite clear that the two kind of need each other. Like you kind of need that live side of it, whether like it's yourself DJing or even just going to clubs, to festivals or whatever, and just soaking up the environment, because it's so inspiring. And that's where the music is really made to be played. So without that, it was a bit strange. And like I put a single out with Rita Ora last year, which was pretty, you know, still in lockdown. And it was really odd not being able to go out and play that tune and perform it. And yeah, it was really weird. And I definitely missed that side of it. Like getting the inspiration from performing to make music, I think is really is really important.
Yeah, I guess, do you test stuff when you're DJing now as well? Do you is that part of your process, make some stuff, test it on the road, or is it kind of just in that sit and make, then go road it?
Yeah, it doesn't really work like that for me because first and foremost, I'm like a writer, producer, artist, and then the DJing is sort of tagged onto that. So and because obviously a lot of my songs, or all of my songs, are very pop, like they're very vocal and lyric focused, that it's not so much about the drop, that it's a kind of tune that you can just play in the club and get a reaction. It's kind of a tune that like you need to put out first, and then if people hear it and they latch onto it and they know the words, they want to sing along and stuff like that, then that's the way I've done it. Obviously that's not the only way to do it. There's like a lot of people play, they'll drop their tune in the set and that's not been released yet, and I have done it in the past with like bootlegs and remixes and things like that. I do it with quite a lot because that's fun, and then the crowd already know, if you've sampled something and you do a remix of it, they already know it, so you can get a reaction from that as well.
I guess you work with some big artists along the way as well, and I definitely want to talk about some of those massive collaborations you've had, but I guess that kind of fits into that process when you're making music as well, because you have to, I guess, fit into diaries and you have to book time in people's space and to work together, and I guess that must also impact that making phase,
Yeah, it's just trying to like manage everything really. That's the timeline thing is the most difficult thing about collaborating with artists if they're well established. I've had songs with artists that have sat there for over a year because our timelines haven't lined up. They have an album campaign coming, and they don't we don't want the release to clash with that, or like it was one recently where I'd planned to do, it was actually my latest single, Melody. I'd planned to do it with a very, very well-known DJ that I'm not going to mention who it is, but we had planned to do it together, and his song started doing so well that that we were worried, like both of us were worried that this release was going to get in the way of the success of his current single. So we had to. He ended up not putting his name on it, and I put it out on my own. But yeah, that's just the way it goes sometimes. It's hard to line these things up.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, like, the whole lockdown thing was beginning of 2020. You must have just your album obviously came out 2018. That did crazy numbers, dude. 136,000 sales in the UK. That's insane. Firstly, like, congrats. That's insane, mate.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it was. I mean, albums are difficult. They've been difficult for a while now, especially for dance acts. So yeah, it was incredible for people to, buy into it that much.
And then that all started because of Easy Love. What was the run up before that? Well, like, what were you like? Obviously, you were kind of in that shed process before that. Were you kind of building up to that Easy Love, or did it just kind of happen naturally? And
it just kind of happened naturally, really. So after I came out of the shed, right, I moved to London. I was like, okay, I need to upgrade the shed. So I moved to London with my best mate, and we did a music course called commercial music at the University of Westminster, and it was great. We learnt some things about music production, not a great deal, more about the business and stuff like that. But mostly it was an opportunity to meet people, and that led to many different things. Really, I came out of university. I went in there wanting to be an engineer. Or a keyboard session player. Like, I hadn't planned on being an artist at all. So I left university. I had to start paying my own rent because I didn't have my student loan. So I was kind of like basically refusing to get a proper job. And I was like, I'm gonna make enough money from music to pay my rent. So I was doing odd jobs for people, doing production for some of my friends who were artists, and just basically anything I could do to make money. I made a few like sample packs, which went on what's the name of the website? I can't remember. One of the big Prime
Loop
Loops,
Masters,
I think it was.
Prime Loops.
Yeah, I think it was one of those. That did quite well. I made a few £100 out of that, and that paid my bills for a couple of months. Like things like that, basically, just to help me pay the bills. And I got into songwriting from there. Met a few songwriters. Was like, okay, this looks fun. Let's do this. Just through some of the people I was working with, I ended up writing a lot of K-pop music and trying to write K-pop tunes to get cut over there, because that was just kind of like where things led through the people that I knew and what they were doing, and I was in the mind frame of basically just say yes to every opportunity, because like I want to make a career out of music, however that's going to be. Like I'm going to try and make that happen. So I made a bunch of K-pop, and that went on for a few years actually. Never really saw much money from it, to be honest. I ended up having to sign on to the Dole for a couple of years, because I was like, I'm not making any music, and I'm not making any money from music. But I was working like every day, 12 hours a day, doing everything I could, but I couldn't quite get over the line of making enough money to pay the bills. So I was on the Dole for a while, and then I met this songwriter who introduced me to Tileyard, which is many things. It's like a big studio complex in North London. It's in King's Cross. And they're a management company, a publishing company. They do a lot of things. And I met them, and I started to work closely with them, and they hooked me up with a load of songwriters, and everything kind of went from there. I was still making K-pop at the time. That was what I'd like when I went for my first meeting with them. They were like, "What do you do?" I was like, "I'm K-pop guy. Like, here's my stuff." But I was like, I'm open to doing anything. So I just wrote some pop music for a year or so with them, and they tried to pitch my music out to artists and things like that. And there was like quite a pinnacle moment when I realized that I wasn't really doing what I wanted to be doing. And I was in kind of a better place than I was when I left university. Like I was earning some money that I could just about pay my bills, but I was like, this isn't really what I want to do. Like I've made so much K-pop music. I don't really know how to make non-K-pop music anymore, because it's like all these crazy jazzy chords and stuff. And I was like, I need to step away from that and work on something that that I would be proud to play my friends, would be proud to, put my name to. I made like a couple of dance tunes with some of the writers I was already working with. And I met this guy basically who was an engineer here, who was actually working with Mikey, who's the guy who runs Pink Punters. So Mikey's the guy, man. He introduced me to this engineer, and he had this big hard drive full of multi-track stems from Stevie Wonder, Jimi Hendrix. Like I think you can get them online somewhere, whether it's legit or not, I don't know. But he had this massive database of stems anyway, and he was like, "Oh, do you want some?" I was like, "Yeah, man." I clicked on a few. I was like, "Oh, The Police, Jackson 5, Marvin Gaye." Like took a bunch of these stems, like literally as many as I could until my hard drive was full, and then went home, and that weekend I was like, "Oh, maybe I should do like a remix or something." So I sat down, opened a few of these acapellas, opened the ABC acapella, and just played it in quick-time, and just had a piano plugin open and was just kind of like playing around on the keyboard, and just started playing the chords that they were pretty much the first chords I played, the ones that ended up being in Easy Love, and that's basically how that started. So. It wasn't something that was really pre-planned. I wasn't like, I'm going to become an artist now and like this is going to be what I'm going to do. I was just like, I need to make some music for me, something that I can be proud of, something that I'm going to have fun making, because everything I was doing was kind of was kind of a bit soul destroying because I was like doing music, but I wasn't doing the music that I wanted to be making. So I was kind of like, I'd rather either not do it or do what I want to do and just try and make that work. And yeah, that was the moment I things just kind of clicked really. And that tune, my manager sent it to Ministry of Sound, and literally like he didn't tell me he'd done this either. So like I just sent him this song at about 4 a.m. when I'd finished it. It was like I must have spent about 5 hours on it. It was like real like rough demo. I sent it to him, and then he gets in touch. My manager calls me like 2 days later, and he's like, "Hey, Ministry of Sound want to offer you a record deal." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, I sent them that song, and because he looks after Ella Eyre as well, and she'd just done a song with DJ Fresh, who is signed to Ministry. So my manager had already sort of dealt with them. So yeah, he was like, do you want to meet them? I was like, hell yeah, I want to meet them. Like, they're obviously like a massive brand and something that, like, a name that I've grown up hearing in the electronic music world. So yeah, that's kind of how that came about, if that answers your question.
That's mad. Like, and then that track was massive. Like, and it still is massive, but that track was massive and it was everywhere. And you had a lot of radio support, which I guess is big for the music, important for the music you make, especially in the last few years with the clubs closed. Like, I know a few of our regulars. I'm wanting to make music like that. What have you got any tips that can kind of make more music that crosses over nicely for radio and is used, from a crossover appeal?
Yeah, it's always been quite a tough balance making tunes that are, can be played in the club, but also on radio. And there's a real like sweet spot with all of that. And I think for radio, like you just need good lyrics, man, and a good melody. Like I've heard so many, like, people send me loads of demos, and anyone who's in the chat, obviously welcome to do so as well. My email's on my Instagram, or it's promos@sigala.co.uk. People send me stuff all the time, and like I hear some great productions, like beautifully mixed and cool things going on, and then the top line just really lets it down, and like the lyrics are really generic or don't make any sense. There's no like concept there to grab onto. So I think that's one thing that's really important if you want to cross over to mainstream and to radio and to the general public, like aside from just the club scene, is people connect with the lyrics and with melodies. And yeah, if you don't get them right, then you can have the best produced track, the most incredible kick drum, and no one's really going to care. But because a lot of people, like, if you're trying to get your music played on the radio, like, people are listening to it on radios as well, and they're listening to it in their kitchen, and they can't hear your incredible bass sound or any of that. Like, they can hear the vocal and some chords, and everything else is kind of like noise around that. So like at the heart of it, you need a good song. Yeah, that I think that's the most important bit. And then when you're focusing on the club side, obviously that's when the production comes more into it, and making things sound great is really important. So you kind of need both of those to make something that crosses over. Nice.
That's cool. That's really cool. You've worked with some big vocalists. How does it work for you with the process of actually making the records? Is it you make the beats first, then you find the vocalist, or is it kind of a collaborative thing right from the start?
It's always different, really, to be honest. There's not really been a formula since day one. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to get in the room with the artist and write a song with them. And I think the first time I did that was with John Newman on Give Me Your Love. And that was incredible. Like, the day we met, we both like heard each other's music and we wanted to work together. We booked a day in the studio. Give Me Your Love was the song we wrote on the first day, and then we released it. And nice. That's amazing because like John wrote the song. It suits his voice because he came up with it, and we were able to hear it coming out of his mouth and go, okay, this is good, this is bad. Do you know what I mean? Change it like that, which is so much quicker than writing a demo and then trying to get somebody to sing it who fits their vocal, because you never really know until they sing on it. So there's a lot of like trial and error in doing it that way, but it does work, and I've done it that way a lot of times. There's a whole bunch of incredible writers that I write with, and people that I've been writing with since day one. You know, they can sing. So we have a presentable demo and we send it around, and if we find an artist that we think is going to suit it, then they can come and record it, and hopefully it'll sound good. But honestly, you never really know. So there's more trial and error in doing it that way, but both those ways do work.
Right, let's play some music, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's chat. Firstly, Melody. Let's talk about this. Is your new single. Tell us about this. And also, there's a new album, is there? I heard.
Yeah, new album is in the works at the moment. It's going to be coming out this summer. Yeah, very excited, man. The first album was a lot of fun. This one's been a lot of fun too. Lots of cool collaborations. I've kind of, I guess, like refined my sound a little bit for this next album. It's very, hopefully, everything sounds like Sigala. But yeah, I'm really excited to get that out and for everyone to hear it.
So that's the first. That's the first single off your the coming new album?
There will be probably 3 on the album that have already come out, nice. That have been released since my first album. So it will be. Let me just check, so I don't get this wrong. Lasting Lover with James Arthur. Yep. Wish You Well with Becky Hill. You For Me with Rita Ora, and Heaven on My Mind, which I did with Becky Hill as well. They're going to go on the album, and then obviously Melody. And I'll put probably 2 or 3 more singles out this year, like before and around the release of the album as well, which will go on it. And then a whole bunch of unheard, unreleased stuff on the album as well, of course. So it's going to be a big album, like 16 to 18 tracks probably.
Wow, that's cool. How come so many? Just out of interest.
Just because of the way we do it. Like we release the music first, like the singles first, and then package them into the album, as opposed to, like how things used to be done in recent years. Like you'd put an album out and then you'd release the singles off the album, which obviously people still do as well. But because it's this way around, like obviously a lot of the songs have already been released, so you got to give something new on the album as well. Otherwise, if it's like an 8-track album and there's 5 or 6 songs that have already been out, then people are only getting 2 tracks which are new. So there's going to be at least like 8, 9, 10 tracks that haven't been released, hopefully.
One question from your team. They tell me that you took them all away for the first listen through of the first album, and they want to Ibiza. And they want to know where to pack for this year.
I don't know. I don't know where we're going to do it. Definitely going to do an album party. Ibiza was crazy, man. Like we invited a bunch of fans. We had like loads of music industry people. We had like most of the writers and producers and people and singers that helped create the album. So it was really nice to just get everyone together as well and just be like, let's be proud of what everyone's made, because I couldn't do it on my own. Like there's a big team of people behind, the making the album a success as well as making it. So it was really nice to bring everyone to Ibiza and have a rave for a couple of days. Nice. Yeah, I don't know where we're going to go this time.
It says in the chat, do it at Pink's.
Do it at Pink's, yeah. That would be the one. We're thinking maybe like a boat party. Could be a bit different.
That'd be cool. That'd be very cool.
Yeah, somewhere hot.
Texas Spoon Tapia. Any new production techniques you're into? He's a first time questioner. Go for it. Thanks for joining us.
New production techniques. Just new plugins. Really, I'm always trying to update my plugin arsenal. I feel like it's really important. Like I get really inspired by new plugins. Like there's several that I like, my go-to plugins I use all the time, where I know I have a nice sub sound or a nice pad sound, and this is the patch that I will use. Do you know what I mean? Every time when I need something like that, just updating plugins, I feel like they can give you a new lease of life.
What's your go? I know it'll be in the questions anyway. What's your go-to plugins, and then what's the newest one you found that you're really into right now?
My go-to stuff for instruments is Serum, Spire. I use VPS, Avenger, VPS, something like that. Memory's terrible. Avenger. I use that quite a lot, but yeah, like it's not as I find it a bit more difficult to get the sounds I want to get out of it. So Serum, I feel like Serum is probably one of the best. Like if you're gonna sit down and learn a plugin and try and know, all the ins and outs of it, like Serum is a really good one to do that with. It's quite simple on the surface, but you can also get really stuck into it. Yeah, if you want to make some crazy sounds, it can do it. It can do a lot. I use the M1 piano obviously quite a lot. So I have the I think it's in Korg Gadgets is the package that comes in. And there's loads of cool synths in there actually, and they're really simple. Like some of them only have like 10, 20 sounds, and they're all like usable sounds. So the Korg Gadgets plugins are quite fun, and I think they were actually made for iOS, so like you can get them on your phone, and I've never done it, but you can like get it on an iPad and play some synths on an iPad. But I think they did that first, and then they released it as plugins. So they're really good in terms of like effects and processing. Pro Q3 is probably a really boring plugin to talk about. It's an EQ, but it's a plugin that I probably couldn't live without. Like I use it on every single channel to solve like ringing, overtones, things like that. You can do dynamic EQing as well as, mid-side EQing, and you can basically just do everything in that plugin, and it's really good. The dynamic EQing is really nice for, unwanted frequencies that you only want to take out when they're too loud, and then it leaves them alone otherwise. So Pro Q3 is incredible. I couldn't live without it. Another one I really love and use probably far too much is RC20 Retro Color. It's got like five effects in one, and it basically just makes like things sound like kind of vintagey. So it has like a pitch wobble modulation thing. It has a nice reverb. It has a nice distortion, and it just, if you haven't used it, give it a go. It's really great. Like if you have a sound that you like, this is a cool sound, but it's just a bit dead and a bit like it doesn't really have any life. Like you can put Retro Color on it, and it really just brings like an organic human feel to a sound that's otherwise a bit rubbish. So I use that a lot, like in very small doses on a lot of channels, and it all kind of adds up and helps things be slightly less static and slightly less mechanical. So that's one that I would highly recommend. I just updated all my Contact stuff. There's a whole load of Contact plugins that I kind of stopped using Contact for a long time, but it turns out I should have just updated, because I pay for like the ultimate collection or whatever, and I was like, everything's boring on here, and then I realized they released a whole bunch of stuff that I hadn't actually updated. So I've just bought one of the M1 MacBooks, which I'm so excited to use. So I'm just setting that up at the moment, and making everything usable.
My assistant just got one of those. He's got the huge one. It's flipping impressive and fast, the M1 MacBook. His is a beast.
It's a monster.
A Tracy 7, which DAW do you use for production? I
use Pro Tools, which I know is not really very common for dance music. But yeah, it does what I need it to do. Like I try and do a lot of recording, like actual audio recording in my songs as well. So like it does that really well. It's really great for vocals. A few people I know, they'll do like the track in Logic, and then when they go to cut vocals, they'll use Pro Tools. It's it's a good DAW to learn how to use. It's basically the first one I tried when I went to university. They sent out a letter basically of like, this is the curriculum or whatever, and these are all the different subjects, and if you want to do music production, you need to download your student edition of Pro Tools. And so that's what I did. Like I'd been using Adobe Audition before that, and I downloaded Pro Tools. I was like, okay, I've got like 3 months to learn how to use this. So like I spent 12 hours a day just like trying to work out everything and watching, YouTube videos and tutorials and stuff. And I actually got to university and like everyone was using Logic and I was the only one in Pro Tools.
Oh, no way.
So I don't know what like letters everyone else got, but basically it was really annoying. But by that point I'd already learned to use it, and I was like, I'm not learning anything else. Like I've spent some time to learn how to use Pro Tools, so I've just stuck with it, and it works really well for me.
That's cool. Jono, Haddo, how do you start your tracks? Pianos, drums, vocals?
I hardly ever start a track without vocals. Like I do it sometimes, but it's usually the vocals are the thing that starts the track. Or if I'm actually in a writing session, then like it will be chords and melody will kind of happen at the same time until we find something that inspires us, and then we'll kind of write lyrics to it unless a lyric comes to mind. But I get sent a lot of songs as well, and a few of the songs that I've released have come to me as demos. I've asked for the acapella, then they send over the acapella, and then it's kind of like treating it like a remix really, or like a bootleg. Like I get sent an acapella and then I make the track around it. That's happened a few times. That's what happened with Melody. Like a few songwriters that I know really well wrote it. It was a very basic demo that they had written, and they didn't even really like it, to be honest. They just sent their obligatory email. One of them, or two of them actually, I publish under Lighthouse Publishing, and they'd sort of sent it in an email, and I listened to it and I was like, there's something amazing about this chorus melody and the vocals. And so I got the acapella and worked on it, and I think it was much slower as well. It was like 110 BPM or something like that. And I did it that way around. So like I get inspired by vocals. So if I don't have a vocal, I can write some chords and stuff, but it doesn't give me, I can't get the feels as much from an instrumental track. So I can make some chords and a beat and make a track and then write to it that way. But like I'm so much more inspired when it's all happening at the same time, or I have an acapella and I'm like, how do I best serve this vocal? Like, what is the best chord for this part of the melody? And do you know what I mean? You can really rip it apart and get stuck into it that way. So that's kind of the starting point.
On the tracks where you've had obviously big samples and big kind of like obviously Easy Love, and I guess even you sampled MGMT, didn't you, on
Lasting Lover? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you just go for it with those samples and then try and work out how you're going to clear them, or is that a worry for you? Because I know lots of the people in the audience will be going, I'm not going to touch that sample because I won't get a chance of getting it cleared. Like I'd love to understand your kind of mindset where you're on that different approach.
Yeah, like fortunately, I've never really had to worry, because when I made Easy Love, I wasn't intending on releasing it. It was just kind of like a fun track that I made that I was going to probably just play to a few mates or whatever. I was lucky enough to have Ministry of Sound as my label at the time, and honestly, like if they hadn't had clearance on that sample, obviously the track would have never come out, and I think my career probably would look a lot different. So yeah, it's a real tough one if you're worried about using samples and getting them cleared. You do need like someone with a bit of oomph behind it who can go to the publisher or the label or whoever owns the masters of that sample, and they all have to be replayed anyway. Like Easy Love, I think the YouTube version is the original Michael Jackson vocal, but the one on iTunes, the one on Spotify, I believe, that's a replayed vocal which we had sung. Like one part of it is Vula from she toured with Basement Jaxx, incredible vocalist. It's her singing and pitched up slightly, and then the intro part is a kid who played like Michael Jackson as a kid in Thriller musical or something like that.
No way.
They managed to find, yeah. So there's two different people singing the vocal on the replayed version, but generally, like, that solves some problems with, because if you're using the original audio, then you have to get the master cleared as well, which involves a lot of different people, and also you're going to lose a lot more money from doing that, because then the ownership is going to be shared between more people. Often samples have to get replaced if they end up going on iTunes or whatever it is. So but like from a creative point of view, I don't think about that at all. If you have an idea and you think it's going to be cool, like, you miss all the shots you don't take. So just do it. If it sounds great, you might get something out of it anyway. You might get a label interest, or something might come of that piece of music. So don't be scared of sampling things, even if it's good practice to do so, because making music without vocals, for me anyway, is boring. Like, I need a vocal. Like, even if I find an a cappella of something and make a song around it, and then I get rid of the a cappella and I'm left with the instrumental, and I can use that for something else. Like, it's good practice to do that. And if you're learning about chords or learning about music structure, song structure, like, it's good practice to just experiment and not worry about clearance and the technical side of it, and don't let that scare you off. Because I like with Lasting Lover as well, I had the MGMT sample, and then I had two alternate versions where I had replaced the melody with a unique melody that I'd written myself, with kind of the same sound, that was like, this is our backup if we don't get clearance on the sample. Luckily the MGMT guys really loved it, and we managed to get it cleared. But yeah, it didn't stop me putting it in there, because I really enjoyed, like, we already had pretty much the track finished. I had like this post-drop section with nothing on it that was like, there's going to be a melody here eventually, and then I just started singing da 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 da, and it just really fitted in with the vibe in that section. And I didn't actually know what it, like, embarrassingly, I didn't know what that melody was. I was like, I know it's something really famous, and I haven't come up with it myself. But my memory is so awful with track names, artist names, titles. Like, my brain just is not wired that way. I forget things really easily. So I could not for the life of me remember what it was. So I was ringing up my friends, like, singing it to them down the phone, until I realized what it was, and I was like, it's MGMT. Like, it wasn't overthought, that sample. It was just like, I kind of heard it and just did it, and I was like, this is sick. This really adds something to the track. And then we worried about it later. But yeah, I would have been a bit disappointed if we weren't able to use it. But yeah, definitely don't let it stop you from experimenting with things, because you never know.
Surround sound saying it's better to ask for forgiveness than asking for permission in a sense.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, you just don't know until you try. And there's been a bunch of things that I've done that we haven't been able to get clearance on. But when I did Easy Love, it was a lot more difficult. Now it's much easier. A lot of artists' catalogs are being bought by big companies who want to own catalog and publishing, and that's become a really big thing, and that's actually opened the door for people to sample, because there's not like someone's estate or family who are there deciding who gets to use the deceased family member. If it's a really old Motown sample or something like that, like, there's not the same gatekeepers there anymore. It's a lot of it's owned just by publishing companies or catalog owners, and they just want to make money from their catalog. So it's quite easy to clear samples, more so than it was when we were trying to clear Easy Love. So yeah, don't let it scare you off at all.
So should we play some more music?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's talk about the previous single, "You for Me," which was with Rita Ora.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, and then I'll line it up while you're telling us.
Yeah, so this song came to me as a demo with Charlie XCX singing on it. It's a song that she'd written with a few writers, and she sounded sick on it, and I worked on a version with her vocal on it for a while, and but she wasn't able to do it. She didn't feel like it fitted in with her sound necessarily, and which was fine. And so we then had to find somebody to sing it. I had quite a few people vocal it, and Charlie XCX and Rita Ora are already quite good friends. They've worked on music in the past. So Charlie reached out to Rita and was like, "Do you want to do this song that I've written? I can't sing on it. Well, I would love you to." So it was easy for me because I didn't have to get involved. So Charlie did the hard work. She found the feature. And then me and Rita worked on it together, and it was a pleasure working with her. She's incredible, really hardworking, and really, really down to earth, nice girl. And it was a pleasure to work with her. She smashed it. So she's somebody I've wanted to work with for a long time on a tune. So I was really happy we made that happen.
As most of our audience is predominantly aspiring producers, do you have any big tips for how they can cut through the noise and get heard? Because this is a big one for them.
I think there's probably two main things. Like it's really easy to just kind of like follow the trend and make music that you think you should be making or everyone else is making, and it's quite obvious, but like you're not going to stand out if you're doing that. If you can borrow elements of what's current and what's happening at the moment and what's on trend musically, then that's great. But finding your own spin on things is really important, and it's really, really hard to do that as well. Like I spent years and years and years trying to think of how I can be different and what kind of music can I make that's gonna, what's my USP gonna be? What am I gonna do differently? Really trying to work out what that was going to be. In the end, it kind of all happened by accident, but like I was consciously thinking about that and what's going to make me different. And if you want to stand out from the crowd, like start with the music really, and try and do something that's different, and try not to force it. Like everyone's going to make music in a different way because we're all human and we all do things differently. So if you can just follow your instincts and make the music that you really enjoy making, that's going to be the thing that's going to be really true to yourself. So it's going to sound honest and it's not going to sound forced, which is going to connect with people much more than if you're just trying to rip off something else, which is good practice as well. Like I ripped off a lot of things. I tried to replicate a lot of things when I was learning how to use Pro Tools, when I was learning how to make dance music. Like the way that I did it was basically, how did this guy do it? How can I recreate that? And then you learn from doing that. So it's not necessarily bad to do that, but when it comes to, making your own music that you're going to put your name to, then you have to think about what it's going to be that's going to make you different sonically, I guess. And that's really hard to do, and it's something that you'll probably just stumble upon. Maybe it's one sound, one thing, or a chord progression that's unique to you that you can use again, and or it's like, I don't know, borrowing something from a different genre and then putting it into, I love what Rudimental did when they first came out. Like they took drum and bass and some dubstep as well, and they brought horns and a lot of live trumpets into it, and just that combination of things was like, okay, they found their sound, and that's what they do really well, and that was their USP, I guess, and they're still doing it really well. And Clean Bandit, like they have their string arrangements, which are very unique to them. And you know, a lot of these big artists have their USP. So I guess it's finding what you can do that's slightly different to stand out.
That's cool. Talking about drum and bass, you had drum and bass on the album, on your last album with DJ Fresh. Like, are you a drum and bass? There's a load of D&B heads usually in the crew. Let's talk D&B. Are you a big fan? Tell me.
Yeah, I probably got into drum and bass before I got into house music, but like I was never that into the underground drum and bass scene. Like when I got into drum and bass, it was like Pendulum, High Contrast, Sub Focus, Nero when they did some drum and bass as well, and it was those kind of people, those kind of artists that I really love. Like I was obsessed with Sub Focus mostly and Pendulum. Like the Pendulum Hold Your Color album is probably still one of my all-time favorite albums. Just like it just takes you on a journey, and albums don't really do that anymore. And it was just incredible. So big up to the drum and bass crew in the chat.
I love that first Sub Focus album as well. That was incredible. Let's give that
so
the pure. For sure. Jono, does Sigala have anyone that gives him feedback on his tracks, or is it a case of I already know it bangs?
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't think it banged, then I wouldn't probably be playing it to anyone. So yeah, I have to love it, of course, before I play it to anyone. But yeah, I have a few people. I try not to play things to too many people, but it's definitely really useful exercise, because even for yourself, like when you play your music to somebody else, you up until this point you're the only person who's heard it. You've been making all the decisions on where the tune's going to go, and then as soon as someone else is sat in the room listening to it with you, like you hear the song completely differently. You like things come in your head. You're like, oh, that bit's not quite right. It's really, really weird, and hopefully some of you can relate to this if you're playing your music to your friends or family or whoever it is, your peers. It's definitely a good exercise. So I have a few people, obviously my managers, Depeche at Ministry of Sound. He's my A&R. I play everything to him. He's very, very honest as well, which is really useful. He'll tell me it's terrible if it is, and generally he has a good ear. So he's a useful person. And it's really useful to play my stuff to people who aren't that involved in music as well. My friends, my girlfriend, like she just likes, she listens to the lyrics of the song. So if there's some nice lyrics in there that she can relate to and she, latches onto, then that's a really good feedback as well from that point of view. So it's good to have a different range of people that you play your music to, rather than just your best mate who's going to say it's sick no matter what it is. Do you know what I mean?
That's an interesting.
Also, maybe there's probably some good forums and places that you can post online and get peer feedback from.
Yeah, like our Discord. Join our Discord. We do that all the time.
There you go.
Join the Discord. Skeleton Keys asks, ask him if you can play cowbell on his album. We have a cowbell, and
no way.
Can we play cowbell on your album?
100%, bro. Just play it. I'll sample it from the stream. All right,
there you go.
That.
MXL sent me this cowbell. One of my viewers. So we have this. Yeah.
Love that. I love a bit of cowbell.
Yeah, you know that.
It makes everything sound better.
What's the most experimental way you've started a track?
It's quite nice to go into different environments. If you're lucky enough to be able to use a laptop, that's quite fun and experimental. You'll often find, or I do at least, that when I'm in some different environment, a different place, like in the back of a car going somewhere, or like on a train or an airplane, or go and sit in the park for an hour until your battery dies. And like, that's quite a nice way of making music and starting ideas, because you can soak up your surrounding. And like, a lot of us probably have our go-to place where we make music, whether it's at home or in a studio somewhere, that is lovely and serves a purpose, but it can be a little bit uninspiring sometimes when you're in there all day, every day. So try and get out of that environment and, you know, try and make some music somewhere else. Go sit in a cafe somewhere and try and find the plug socket that no one's using and make some music there.
Nice. Let's talk more music. Give me your love. You got to work with Nile Rodgers. Now, I absolutely love Nile Rodgers, and he's on my on the wall of people I'd love to interview at some point along the line.
He's a legend.
He's absolute legend. Tell me about working with Nile Rodgers, and tell us all the stories about working with him, because he's an absolute hero.
Yeah, he's been an idol of mine for a long time. Just his, I don't know, he's just worked with so many artists, and obviously he's an incredible guitarist and a musician and songwriter. And but he's not just like the guitar player from Chic. Like, he's worked with a whole load of incredible artists that everyone will know, and you probably don't know Nile's been involved in their projects. And yeah, so I just really respect his work ethic and how hard he works, and how many people he's managed to work with. So yeah, it was pretty awesome being able to work with him.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, he's on like one of the most. Isn't he like the record holder for being on the most tracks ever, or something ridiculous? Because he's played on been part of so many tracks. He's absolutely
probably, man. It's crazy. How many things he's been involved in. Like, if you ever lucky enough to go see them, seen the Nile Rodgers show live, or find a video online or something. Like, they play like most of the catalogue of things that he's written, aside from the Chic stuff as well. And there's so many massive hits that you didn't know Nile Rodgers wrote. So yeah, big up Nile. It was so good to work with him. He's, yeah, like I say, like, he's been an idol for a long time. And I got John Newman to thank for that, because we wrote Give Me Your Love together, and John was just kind of like, he plays a bit of guitar, so he was just like vamping some funky guitar on there, and we recorded that in, and I think I turned to him and I was like, oh man, it sounds like Nile Rodgers. It's like really channeling that Nile Rodgers guitar vibe. And we were just in a really funky mood that day, so that was what came out. And he was like, oh, sick, I've been working with Nile I can't remember. I think he lives in New York still. So John had been working with Nile, and I was like, no way, we need to send this to him. John sent him the track. At this point, like, I was like still very early on in my career, so just so starstruck by everything that was happening, including like meeting and working with John, who's somebody I've really respected and followed for a long time. And then for him to bring Nile Rodgers into the picture, I was just like, my mind was being blown. So yeah, then suddenly Nile gets my phone number from John, and he's calling me up and saying like, man, this track is sick. Like, let's get in and record the guitar. And he came to London, and we did it in Abbey Road Studios, which again was like a big deal. Yeah, somewhere
How was that?
Always, yeah, it was incredible, man. Like, they gave us the tour of, you know, where loads of the Beatles stuff was recorded and countless other massive artists. So it was a very inspiring place to go and see. And yeah, got to work with Nile as well, and we stayed in touch after that. And then I actually worked with him on Just Got Paid, which is the one I did with Ella Eyre, Meghan Trainor and French Montana. Me and Nile worked on that song together. He played all the guitars on that as well. So yeah, it was nice to be able to keep working with him.
Let's do it. You want the to be honest, 132 million streams. We can give that the Hulk, man. Jesus.
Love it, man.
And that's just Spotify. 132. Holy moly, man. When you see those sort of numbers on those streams, you must it must be mind blowing, but also like so nice, like
man. It's really hard to even process that amount of people listening to something. So it still blows my mind that that many people have heard those tunes. I'm so proud of that tune as well. Like it's probably still one of my favorite that I've done. Like sonically, genre wise, I just love the blend of like the funky disco stuff, and that was when like future house was quite a big thing. So there's like that future house bass sound in there mixed with the pianos and John's incredible voice and Nile Rodgers guitars and then like the strings. I just love everything about that song still. Like some it's quite easy to like, obviously I have to listen to my songs a lot when I play them out live and etc. So that one is just one that just doesn't get old, man. I still love it. So
God, actually some suggestions from the Discord. MXL, always want to know about drum processing. And do you have any tips or tricks that he uses? Let's go production-y.
Drum processing for house music and dance music, like generally the drums are very, very dry. So there's really not a great deal of processing that goes into it. It's more like EQing, and something that is always quite difficult is finding the right kick, because the kick is like banging the whole way through the track. Like if you have a bad kick, it's gonna ruin the track. And if it's not sitting in the right frequency with your bass and your key, like there's a lot of like science behind picking the right kick, and even tuning your kick into the key of your track. Sometimes it just works. You can drag one in, it sounds great. Sometimes it's a bit more difficult. Sometimes you get lucky. So the kick drum is really important to me, obviously for house music, because it's going pretty much the whole time or a large portion of it. In terms of processing on other things, it varies really from track to track, but I do like a lot of my stuff is very dry. Like all the percussion is very dry because I want it to be like right in your face. The percussion, drums and the vocal are like the things that I want up front, and all the other sonics generally are going to fit around those. So it's quite a difficult question really, because there's not really, like, a lot of the time I will once I find the right kick, do very like quite minimal EQing, slap it in, and it's good to go. I do get most of my stuff mixed as well, and that like mixing the kick and the bass is a big part of mixing that I wouldn't trust my studio to really do it justice. So a lot of it's just selecting the right samples for me anyway.
Nice. I honestly completely agree with you about kick, because strangely I actually said the same thing in a stream, and then we basically I got sampled saying exactly that, and they made a track out of me saying this.
Okay, pass the kick test. I quite like the kick.
And there's a whole track with me saying pass the kick test.
That's sick.
Which is hilarious. That's now had like 40,000, not as many as yours, but still, it's a brand new artist at 40,000 streams, which we're really pleased with. So
amazing. That's so cool.
So there's another sample there, gang, if you want to do the remix with Sigala saying pass the kick test. Amazing.
Yeah, the kick's weird, man, because like if you're starting with your kick as well, like when you're making a track from the very first, you open whatever your door is, you're dragging a kick, or you'll have an instrument of some kind to start off some chords. And like if you're starting with a kick or your beat, like everything is going to be built in relation to that. So if your kick is wrong, then that's the only thing that you have to go off to build your track. Do you know what I mean? So it's so important. And like I have like a handful of kicks that I've used multiple times, and but it's really, oh god, I could talk about kicks all day, man. Honestly,
nice.
I don't know if this is that interesting for everyone.
No, they love it.
But yeah, like I have kick drums that, like say I used in Lasting Lover, that I've used in a couple of other tracks as well that have come out, and that's one of my go-to kicks. Sometimes I drag it in and it just sounds awful in the mix, and it's just completely wrong. Like there really is no perfect kick. You really have to just try some different options. But yeah, don't overlook the importance of a good kick.
Yeah, they're saying it's super interesting. Keep going, keep talking.
Okay.
They welcome kick drum chat. We love it.
Yeah, kick drums. I just feel like if you find a good one, don't worry about you reusing sounds. If you find a good kick, a good clap, like it's nice to know that this kick drum's gonna work from when it's the only thing in your session to like the end when you're mixing. Like, because a lot of the time, if you just drag a kick in, you start making a track, like you're making a lot of decisions based on the low end that's going on in that kick, and it might affect what you do, and then you might end up replacing it anyway. So yeah, but that goes for everything, like especially drums. If you have a specific genre of music that you're making, that you have a specific drum sound that you want to create, like it's nice to have a few of those ready to go that you can just throw in and they're going to work, rather than trying to painstakingly craft your beat every time. Maybe you can go back at a later date. But yeah, I'll stop talking about kicks now.
Do you mix your own stuff, or do you have it mixed for you?
Majority I have mixed for me. I've mixed a couple of my own tunes, but like even the term mixing is not really that specific, because if you're making your own music, you do need to be able to mix to a decent level, because you can't rely on a mix engineer to clear up all your mistakes. You need to be able to sort them out yourself, and then the mix engineer is literally there to give you that last 5 or 10% of icing on the cake. And if you're not at a point where you think your track sounds mixed anyway, like it's not ready to go to mix, basically. That doesn't make any sense, but that's what I've discovered. Like when I first started, when I made Easy Love and first started my sort of professional music career, where I had the opportunity to get things mixed, I just thought mixing would solve all the problems. I'd be like, it's fine, the mix engineer will sort that out. But it doesn't really work like that. They'll just enhance what is there. So if what is there is wrong, then they're not going to be able to get the best out of that. So yeah, I do mix then to a certain degree. There's a couple. Just Got Paid is one that I ended up mixing and mastering myself. I actually mastered it in the back of a Addison Lee on the way to the airport.
No way.
because I'd run out of time, and that I didn't realize the deadline was coming up that day, and I realized I'm going to be on a plane now for like so many hours. So yeah, the final bounce of Just Got Paid was done in the back of a taxi. But that's one I'm quite proud to have mixed myself, because it's quite an interesting, like it's got a lot of live instruments in there. The bass is live, and trying to mix live bass and electronic, digital sounds was a challenge, but was really fun as well. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, massively. How do you spend your downtime? I know that obviously when your main thing is your main job is your essentially your hobby. Do you have other hobbies you're into, and how do you spend your downtime?
I love gaming as well. I'm just a big nerd, really. Like I love anything geeky, so anything like that. Like I will generally play a couple of hours of games. Just to chill out some evenings, especially the last couple of years where it's been difficult to go out anywhere. But because my work and my work life involves going out to clubs and, being in that environment, I don't feel like I have to do that in my spare time so much. So I don't really, like when I go and do a DJ set, that's me going out as well. Like I really enjoy it, and I get all that from doing the shows. So yeah, I chill out and play some games, watch TV, the normal stuff really. I just moved into a new house, so I'm now like building IKEA furniture every evening and trying to make the place livable. So that's my downtime at the moment.
Oh man, I hate building IKEA furniture. I'm so bad at it.
It's the worst.
Literally, the way it took me a day and a half to build a table once. It was terrible. Ryan and Rob both want to know what games you're playing, obviously.
At the moment, I'm playing this game. I played a whole lot of Warzone over lockdown and a little bit before that. Before Warzone, I was playing Fortnite for a few years. I was obsessed with Fortnite. Now I've got sick of Warzone. I feel like the game is just not as good as it used to be. So I'm playing this one on PC called Hunt Showdown, which is like, it's kind of like a battle royale, kind of Tarkov, Escape from Tarkov, if you know that game. It's that kind of thing. It's really fun, and there's no people, hacking in it. So it's like I started like every game of Warzone I was playing, there was people with aimbot everywhere. So I just got a bit bored of that. So yeah, it's called Hunt Showdown. If you don't have it, it's on Steam. It's good fun. It has quite a small player base, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
If you're playing that, let us know in the chat. I want to know. Hit us up. My gaming is limited. It's normally with my daughter, and it's usually Mario or Sonic or she's into Minecraft
Yeah.
right now, so we're hammering the Minecraft.
Oh, nice.
And we're
That's fun.
and the Roblox. I'm terrible at. Again, I just sort of run around going, "What the hell do I do?" And she's sort of just she's 10 and she just sort of laughs at me, and yeah, it's always.
I got obsessed with this game called Ark Survival as well. It's like a survival game. You're trapped on a desert island basically, and it's like dinosaur times. So you go around trying to tame and kill dinosaurs and survive.
way.
I was obsessed with it, and me and my girlfriend used to both play it. That was a lot of fun. If anyone's played Ark, someone's asking if I played PvP.
Yeah. Did you play on a PvP or PvE?
No, it was just PvE. Just to chill out, really. I just found it a really relaxing game, and yeah, it was just like a nice way to wind down in the evenings. And most of the people on there were really nice on the servers, so yeah, it was good fun.
Have you tried the VR? Anything VR yet? Have you got into any of that yet?
Yeah, I did have a VR setup at home. I started rally driving like every few months. Me and John Newman would go up to Wales, and we both bought rally cars, and like, we started doing that, which was a whole lot of fun. And then we both got VR setups with Dirt Rally on PlayStation. Yeah, so we were doing that in VR. It's insane. It's like with the steering wheel and the racing seat, like you feel like you're in the car, and it's so accurate as well. Like we were doing it as kind of practice, I guess. But that was really fun. So yeah, I've played that in VR. Super Hot, is it called Super Hot? I think in VR, that's like slow motion, like fighting simulator game. That was insane. I really loved that. But yeah, other than that, not much in VR.
The rallying sounds sick. Like,
yeah, the rallying was fun.
I'm
Man.
well into that. Let's play one more track, and then I'll talk to you about touring in North America, because I hear you getting big in America, and I want to talk to you about that. But then let's play one more track, and then we'll be out of here. You got nominated for a Brit with Paloma Faith.
Yeah.
Let's play Lullaby, because that's huge. Again, congratulations. A Brit's fucking
Thank
huge.
you, man. Thanks.
Let's
man.
play Lullaby. Well, there you go. Let's give it the pew pew pew. Look, this is nearly 200 million streams. It definitely gets the pop, man. Holy moly! So that was Lullaby. Let's talk about touring. So last year you got back out there and you played some North American shows, and your music's starting to resonate with US fans. Let's talk about that, because as a UK artist, that's huge. Like to be hitting it in American.
It's amazing, man. It's definitely been like a goal for a long time, really, to try and build things up over in America. It's such a big place, man. Like, it's very hard work doing it like this. It's not like the UK where you only have, a handful of radio stations that cover pretty much the whole of the UK. Like to do promo and everything over in America is, there's different radio stations for every single city. and yeah, it's a lot of work that goes into it. But yeah, it's incredible. Like I think Easy Love did some stuff over there. A few of the other songs, drum and bass really isn't a thing over there. Whenever I play drum and bass in my sets, everyone looks a bit confused. But I honestly, I just do it anyway because I love it.
Nice.
What else? Yeah, obviously, Lasting Lover. That's done really well in America, which has been incredible. And it's actually like opened a few doors over there for us. I can go over and tour there now a few times a year. I'm gonna head over in, when is it now? It's just over a week. I think I'm going for a couple of weeks, hitting New York and Chicago, and had a Vegas residency now for a few years, which has been incredible. Like that's been like the goal for me, is like the Vegas residency. That's been the goal for many years. So we've really been working on building stuff over there. But yeah, it's crazy, man. Like to think a few years ago, no one had heard anything I'd done. And now, it's like I can go to America and people can stand there and they know the words to the songs. And even like I've done shows in Mexico and stuff. And there's a whole bunch of fans out there as well. And South America. And yeah, it still blows my mind, man. It's very, very cool.
That's very cool. Billions have heard the music. Mad to put that into perspective. Yeah, it is. That is mad, isn't it?
It's crazy. I try not to think about it too much, to be honest, because I don't want it to affect my, what's the best way to put it? The reason or my approach to music. Like, I don't want to overthink making music, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. So although I do obviously appreciate those numbers and they're incredible, when it actually comes to being sat in front of the computer, I'm not thinking of those things. I'm thinking of what do I want to make? What's going to sound good in the club? Do you know what I mean? What's going to be fun, really? What's going to make me smile?
Staying true to yourself seems to work for you nicely. So that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like night and day when I decided, screw it, I'm going to just make some music for myself. It was like turning on a tap, and then suddenly all these opportunities started coming out. It was crazy, man. How obvious it was when I started to be true to myself and make the music that I want to make.
Would you continue living in the UK, or would you move to the US if it's sort of going mental over there?
I could see myself maybe living out there for a few months in the summer. If there's like a residency over there that was every weekend, maybe live there for like 3 months of the year. I love the UK though, and I have such a solid foundation here, friends and family and everything that are really important to me. I feel like I would miss that too much if I moved over there. But I'd love to go to Vegas for a few weeks every year. Like, who would say no to that?
Yeah,
but you never know, man. You never know. Like, things change all the time, and I might be looking back in a few years going, I'm living in America now. But who knows, man?
And then the rest of the year, you've got an album coming out, which we touched on earlier. I bet that must be firstly exciting, but secondly, maybe nervous that how it's going to be taken, I guess. Yeah,
of course. But again, like, I try not to overthink those things, because then you start making music for the wrong reasons. So I just want it to be the best it can be, and something that I'm proud of, and something that I've enjoyed making, which I really have. And I've had the opportunity to work with a whole bunch of different artists that I haven't worked with before, a few that I have, some incredible songwriters. It's such a collaborative effort, this album, and it's been so much fun to make. So however it goes, I'll be very proud of it and really excited for everyone to hear it.
Well, good luck for it, dude. I can't wait for it to come out.
Thanks, man.
Does he still have the Jungle Studio from the Future music video? Skeleton Keys asked.
Yeah, this is it. This is the back of it. I guess the Future music video was shot the other way around. But here it is.
Oh, wow. That's a whole lot of jungle.
The trees, yeah.
It's massive.
Yeah, this is home. I'm trying to build a home studio at the moment where I'm eventually gonna do most of my work from. But yeah, this place has been amazing, man. I'm so lucky to have been able to use this studio.
What is the vocal process like with your tracks? What is your usual vocal collab process like?
My vocal process is pretty simple. Auto-tune, then a high-pass filter to get rid of all the sub frequencies, CLA 3A compressor. Usually, if I'm recording a vocal and I want a quick chain that just sounds good and I can do stuff with, like, I love CLA vocals. Like, it definitely has its flaws as something you can slap on and bring some life to a vocal, and some reverb and some delay really adds a lot of emotion to a track. So I use the CLA vocals plugin a lot, quite aggressively, you could say. Like, I just slap a whole load of reverb and delay on. I don't use the chorus knob in it at all, because I wouldn't really need to on a lead vocal. And it has a nice compressor. That's probably all I would slap on a vocal if I'm recording it. And then if I was doing more than that, I use some of the Slate Digital stuff, their virtual rack. I've kind of made my own chain in that's kind of a nice compressor, and they have like some nice distressors and things like that in there. And what else? Just a whole bunch of automation. Like, the way I get a nice vocal and an interesting vocal is like loads and loads of automation of sends from the lead vocal to usually a delay, or like a couple of delays, maybe one that's long, it's like quarter notes with lots of reverb on it, and then one that's like a stereo eighth, or like a dotted eighth or dotted 16th or something like that, that's really like a ping pong delay or something, to maybe having the chorus to help bring some width to the lead vocal, because I don't generally use like a whole lot of harmonies and dubs. Like, I want the lead to be really good on its own. Yeah, I'll often have a send or a few sends and automate them, like for every section or specific words, automate so you can have your delay throws coming out. Another thing I love to do on the lead vocal, especially when it's probably not something that ends up being in a final mix, but for my own versions, like putting a reverb on and then adding compression after the reverb is really nice as well, because you get that really tight, close vocal sound bit that you can have the reverb filling in the gaps. You can obviously do that with like side chain on a reverb send or something like that as well, but just for ease of getting it to sound vibey, I just sometimes slap on a reverb. And then I love the Valhalla vintage reverb as kind of my go-to for long reverberations. And then with just some compression after it. I hope that was helpful. That's cool, basically what I think that's pretty much what when I did that future music, computer music, well, I can't remember what it was, that YouTube breakdown of Came Here for Love. That was probably a very similar vocal chain on there, and I still pretty much use that. Some of the mix engineers I work with, they like to change quite a lot in the vocal. Sometimes it's better to trust them. Like, that's one thing some mix engineers like to do quite a lot of. But because I have so much automation, like volume automation and send automation, it's quite difficult for me to just send a dry vocal to a mix engineer and expect them to know exactly what I want to do with it. So yeah, I end up doing a lot of it myself, I guess. So yeah, I hope that's helpful.
That's good. Thank you so much, Sigala, for joining me today. That's been so much fun.
Thanks for having me, man. Sorry, I was just reading the chat. It's really nice. Really nice to be here, and thanks to everyone in the chat for your questions. I hope it's been useful. And yeah, if anyone has demos or anything they want to send me, promos at sigala.co.uk. I love hearing new music. So yeah, my ears are always open. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
If you found this interview interesting, consider giving it a like and a comment. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, and let me know your biggest takeaway below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch. I'm back on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and you can check out the schedule from the link below as well to see who's coming up in my interview series. I'll see you in the next Twitch stream or the next YouTube video. I'll see you soon. Bye.